Okay, there's a couple of things I wouldn't mind discussing here. Number one, the demonstration in Whitehall on the 9th of June. Now, as far as I can tell, I've heard it reported that there was supposed to be a big screen there, and that the police have intercepted that on the way, and they've stopped that happening, and they didn't let them start setting up the stage until 1:30 instead of 12 o'clock, and little things like that. People coming out of the tube stations at the time were saying they'd heard on the personal address, the public address system, that the demonstration had been cancelled. Also, there was at least one report, people saying that the motorway signs were saying that the demo had been cancelled. I know of at least one person, an acquaintance, and he's a friend of a friend, who was served with a Section 35 at Manchester, so the police were turning people away at presumably not just one train station around the country. So they did a lot to try and make the demonstration smaller, and they've always done that. I mean, the latest techniques are a little bit more extravagant. Daily Mirror apparently published an article saying it was cancelled. I don't know how many people he managed to turn around to all those different tactics. You could imagine it would turn around quite a few people. But still, it was massive. People are quoting this figure of 20,000 people having arrived there, but that is just based on Raheem Kassam saying, well, there's at least 20,000 people here. And I don't doubt it, but really, we don't know how many people were there. You've got to work out how many square feet were covered by the crowd, how dense the crowd was, and nobody seems to be doing that. I had an argument. I was at the demo on the 2nd, what was it called, the Day for Freedom of last month, and a couple of the recent demos up in the north as well. But I remember at that other demo, the guy I went down with telling me that there were 2,000 people there, and I just laughed at him. I said, look, the street is 50 people wide, that crowd is 50 people wide, so 40 people deep is 2,000 people, and it goes on and on and on forever. It isn't just 40 people deep. So the numbers people come up with are just preposterous, you know. It's just, we really should sort of try and get a handle on that. But anyway, getting past that point, how big the crowd sizes are, we do need big crowds, as big as we possibly get them. And also, I know this is the opposite to what everybody else is saying, I think we do need to seem as belligerent as possible. I thought it was quite good that when the police sent in snatch squads to arrest people, they had to turn around and they got chased back out of the crowd. Some of what I've heard about doesn't seem to have come up on the video footage. It actually happened a little bit earlier than the stuff that you tend to see. One witness I spoke to, he left where the stage was just as Kevin Carroll had started his speech, and he went down and he saw a few things that he relayed to me there. I think if you look at the way they treat the Muslims, we need to be as scary to the government as the Muslims are, and then they'll treat us with kid gloves, because in the past what they've been doing is they've instigated riots where the police have instigated the riot. They've gone in with truncheons and beat the crap out of people. They just behave so badly, it's just unbelievable. I mean, there's one case going on at the moment. I'm not allowed to talk about it legally. There's a gagging order on till December 2018, and well, I wouldn't normally take the slightest bit of fucking notice of a gagging order, but I suppose in a way you could say the government are holding hostages. Somebody's kids are in care, and there's already been, the kids have already been abused. The things that are happening to people, and I'm talking about now just people who are speaking out about Islam, are unbelievable. The first guy onto the bus, and people criticising people for standing on the bus, The first guy onto the bus has been going to demos for ages. Lots of his friends will have been missing. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know him well enough. He's an acquaintance, not a friend. So I don't know his personal history, but it wouldn't surprise me if he hasn't done some time for some preposterous charge. We wouldn't be getting treated the way we're getting treated if we were a little bit more belligerent. The idea of the DFLA to walk quietly through Manchester was a crap idea, and it's not why most people went there. One of the things that stirred up people to actually attend that march at last minute was they were saying about Tommy Robinson, you know, and it was we could be protesting about that. When we chant that song, that "Oh Tommy, 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 Tommy Robinson," when we chant that, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. The psychological effect of everybody singing from the same damned hymn book is powerful, and I think it's good that nobody took any damn notice of the DFLA. I hate to disagree with them on this, because that Richard Inman, when he gives a speech, he gives a brilliant speech. I do agree with him on just about everything, but I'm not so sure I agree with him on tactics. I've been going to EDL marches for a few years now, and Britain First marches, and I can tell you, you can play nice with the police as much as you want, and they'll just play dirtier and dirtier with you. The things they do. Your supporters can't get into the demo. So they try and make the crowd size as small as possible. They arrest people after the demo for the stupidest crap you could imagine. It's just really preposterous. People build up strings of criminal offences that are just complete bullshit. I mean, I know one guy, he's run up £6,000 in fines so far, and he's looking at prison time even for so little as flying a flag in his garden. And really, we're running out of time. For Britain is on the verge of getting banned. That's what the Lewisham hustings was about. The police, for anyone who isn't aware of this, the police did nothing when communist protesters outside this hustings were they were going as far as trying to push people under passing buses. They call themselves Unite Against Fascism because they'd probably have a harder time recruiting people if they called themselves Unite Against Criticism of Islam, which is actually what they do. It's all they do. As far as I can see, that's all they do. They just unite against criticism of Islam, and anyone that criticises Islam is called a fascist or a racist. Even if you're an ex-Muslim yourself. Where I'm leading to here is the police have done nothing about all the violence, and then they've closed down the hustings to prevent violence. Which, what difference does it make sending people out of the hustings early rather than letting them stay inside and letting the protesters be outside, and then they have to pass through them later instead of earlier? What difference would that have made? And why can't they just arrest people when they assault people? That would be the way to fix this. And they have another way. If they just hate arresting people, they can serve people with Section 35s, and then they have to leave or they'll be arrested for not leaving. And that's what they do with us. So they've pretended there's no solution to these violent thugs being outside. The only solution is that the people inside the hustings who are trying to have a debate have to leave the building and go home. That's the solution. How would there be more violence if they left later rather than earlier? They're still passing through the same crowd. The crowd might actually get smaller. The reason, I've got to tell you, is because if they have to close down any meeting where Anne-Marie Waters goes because there's such violence, then the public not able to read between the lines and figure out which bit's missing from the story are going to think it's something to do with For Britain, something to do with Anne-Marie Waters. She's just, there's violence wherever she goes, which is the same line that they've tried with Tommy Robinson. So it's going to end up, they're preparing the ground to ban For Britain. That's what they're doing. And that's why they're fretting about violence and having to close down meetings, because of the threat of violence wherever For Britain go. And no newspaper is going to tell you that the threat of violence is from Labour supporters outside who are beating people up on the way in and out. I'll provide a link. I'll provide a few links, I think, in the description. I'll build them up over time. But I mean, there was one incident I saw the other day where Luke Reid, it's a great little YouTube channel. It's only, I think, 500 odd people so far subscribed to it. So I'll put a link in the description to his channel. But he gets assaulted in front of a line of cops, and he films it. And then when he asks them what they're going to do about it, the police, they just say, "Oh, we never saw anything." And that's what it's like. You just look at the Tommy Robinson story. The great thing about Tommy Robinson is everybody is aware of him. Everybody can see the story when it comes to him. He's been beaten up hundreds of times, and the police have never arrested anyone, never tried to arrest anyone for it. It's common knowledge that it's fair game. You're allowed to beat that man up in the street and get away with it. Our cuntish police won't do anything about it. Even in one instance where you can see in his book, Enemy of the State, he is actually locked in a room with Muslim jihadis in the prison. It's the prison governor's decision to do that. There's all kinds of incidents in prison like that. And then, just to add insult to injury, there's at least one occasion where they have arrested him and tried to prosecute him for assaulting a police officer. And then, because there were so many people with mobile phones, there's mobile phone footage proving that no such assault ever happened. So the police will not prosecute for real assaults, but they will prosecute people for fake assaults that they just made up. That's how bent as fuck these cops are. You've got no protection in the law. The only protection you've got is the same protection the Muslims have got. These guys are afraid of upsetting the Muslims, and we need to get it so they're afraid of upsetting us. Maybe if we can just translate their bad behaviour, the police's bad behaviour, the government's bad behaviour, the journalists' bad behaviour, into more voters flipped over to our side. We already, according to recent polls, we as anti-Islamics are already more numerous than the number of votes any political party has ever had in a general election in this country. So in theory, if we could translate people's opinions into voting behaviour, we can already win an election. It's that bad, and our numbers are growing. You know, this Tommy Robinson gaffe has really grown our numbers something rotten, and it's galvanised a lot of people who were already sort of on our side anyway, but it's made them realise it's now or never. They've got to say something. Every little victory of ours is down to a mistake that the other side makes. It's like you're a little guy fighting with a big guy, and you've just got to pray for them to keep making mistakes that you can capitalise on. And likewise, every little gain they make is a mistake that we make. And our biggest mistake right now is to just walk down the road quietly. We should look angry. We don't have to hit anybody or attack anybody, but the police, you know, it would be great if they weren't able to just storm into us and arrest whoever they want, or certainly not to do what they've done in the past, where they've just gone in, beaten people with truncheons for no reason. They're literally assaulting people on some occasions, and on other occasions they're just letting other thugs do it for them while they're watching, while they know. That Battle of Sevenoaks thing, they could see hope not hate. I love the way they come up with these names that make it sound to somebody who's not going to look beyond the name of the organisation. If that's all the research they're going to do, just the name of it, and it sounds great, doesn't it? Hope not hate. they tweet out the postcode of where they want Antifa to go, and then Antifa turn up. The police know in advance. They have a police station close to Sevenoaks, so it's not like they're going to take as long as Antifa. We've got to get on a train and go there, and yet they only turn up on the scene. They only interfere after Antifa have attacked people who just wanted to go to a conference, and when the Antifa are starting to lose a bit, and they're having to retreat, and then the police steam in. They're not arresting nobody. They're not interested. This is really a historic moment in the history of this country. We've never had a government and a police force as corrupt, as totally perverse as these guys are. I mean, in addition to covering up children, children get run over in the street and they pretend it's an accident because they don't want to harm community cohesion. They'd rather let a murderer walk free. That's severe. They allow child grooming gangs to go on for decades. In some cases, some senior police officers and counsellors and what have you, the Muslims, I don't know if non-Muslim ones are doing it as well, but who knows, but they've actually, from what I can tell, they've actually participated in raping your children. They take your children off you because you criticise Islam, put them into care, and next thing you know, they're pimping them out and raping them. This government we've got are sick fuckers. They'll stop at nothing to ensure they can carry on winning elections. If you want to get arrested, best way you can do it is just by going door to door, leafleting, talking to voters. That's really what this is about. When they prosecute YouTubers and what have you, they're going for the people with the biggest circulation. They're not worried about you saying something. They're worried about people hearing what you've got to say, and if we give in to all the demands, like I'm fighting one case at the moment, an ASBO, where basically the ASBO is you shut up about Islam or else you go to prison. Not me personally, it's somebody else's case. You can't really give in to that, because otherwise they're just going to ASBO the entire fucking country and tell everybody to shut up or you go to prison. Just that's the first word. So at some point you've got to be belligerent and just tell them to fuck off. Really, we're at that stage. We're going to lose our country if enough of us don't grow a backbone fast. So, all this, they're so terrible, they're so rowdy, they're ruining our image. Your image is ruined anyway, mate. Just read the fucking... if nobody had any fights whatsoever, they could just print any shit they want to. They don't care what a minority know, so long as it isn't just too many of us. And we're getting to the point where it is too many of us, and we need to keep going, and we need to just tell them to fuck off when they tell us to shut up. All we're doing is telling the voters what the people they voted for are doing. Okay.